would you admit that maybe you were more reluctant to be overly tight at the last few meetings more than some of your colleagues, and maybe were warning of the possible lag effects that are impossible to calculate? See, what I'm trying to say is you were rightly dovish, and I think the market has played into your what you thought was going to happen, I think, is happening right now. I don't think we're going to need another hike. I'm not sure we needed the last one. And so you're not going to admit any dissent with your colleagues. But weren't you somewhat reluctant to vote with the hike a couple times, or at least once?
Well, you got a lot of questions in there, Joe. As you know, the rules forbid me. I don't speak for anyone else on the committee but myself. I've been saying for months that the thing that we want to be paying attention to as you look at the mandate, that by law we want to stabilize prices and maximize employment. I've been saying for months, be careful looking at the traditional side of if growth is high, if the job market is strong and we're creating a lot of jobs, that means demand overheating, because I've thought these supply shocks are working their way through. That the overwhelming thing we need to do is pay attention to inflation and get the inflation down. The employment side of the mandate's going well. It's been the inflation's been the problem. And I just want to emphasize, inflation has come down a lot. If you look over the last 100 years, in years that are not demobilizations for World War II and stuff like that, in the last 100 years, the fastest drop in the inflation rate in any year was 1982, of course, at the peak of the Volcker tightening. And depending which measure of inflation you want to use, it was a little over 4% drop in a single year. We'll see what happens over the next couple of months. We might equal the fastest drop in inflation in the last century. So we're making progress on the inflation rate. And as long as we're making progress, as I have been saying for a while, the moment of arguing how high should the rate go is going to fade to how long should we keep rates at this level as inflation's coming down.
Maybe it was transitory all along. Maybe it was transitory all along.
Everything's transitory all along,
yeah.
including our lives.
Life is transitory.
Right, Austin. Let me just ask you: this is a period of inflection, and at those moments, this is when it really gets down to the brass tacks of the two mandates, the dual mandate that the Fed has, making sure there's full employment, but also making sure inflation doesn't get out of whack. When you have a question between the two of them, let's say the jobs market gets much weaker, you're facing higher unemployment. Let's say inflation is stubbornly high, or even maybe sticking up there and rising a little bit more from the rate that it's already at. Which of those two is the more important mandate? Because Greenspan was always very clear. He said if you took care of the inflation issue, the rest of the mandate would work out on its own. Do you share that same thing? Or if push comes to shove, which is the more important mandate?
At this moment, it's clear that inflation is the more important part of the mandate, because we got far behind on that side while the unemployment side has remained remarkably strong. So I don't know that there's a philosophical answer at all times, but at this time, for sure, we've got to get inflation down. That's the number one thing.
Austin, I want to ask you two questions. They're both the same question, but maybe one you'll answer, one you won't. First question is, are you done? The other way I'd ask the question is, can you talk about the conditions by which you would say you're done?
Well, and it sounds like you're playing into exactly the thing that I was saying in the market I don't want to get into. I don't like pre-committing what the rates are going to be at the next meeting when we still have weeks to go and a lot of information to gather. It sounds like you're asking for even more than that. Not just what would I vote for at the next meeting, but what am I going to vote for over the next year? For sure, we cannot answer that until we see what the conditions are. I mean, right. That seems straightforward. My conditions for when we should be done is we're back on path, clearly, to get inflation down to target. Now, we've made a lot of progress, and I think anybody who's saying that we're stalling out on inflation or it hasn't been enough would do well to remember this fact that we're among the fastest falling inflation rate years in the last century. That's a pretty good, that's a path that looks good, but we've got to be, it's not done yet. I mean, the inflation rate, while down, is still above where the target is. And I'm absolutely hammering that's what we should be watching. It's not the,
okay.
It's the priority should not be on GDP growth and job growth. It should be on the inflation rate.
If inflation falls more and you remain at the current level, doesn't that mean you've gotten tighter when it comes to policy?
It does. Yeah, it gets more restrictive because the real rate is going up.
So why
when
would
that
you
happens.
want to be more restrictive if inflation is falling further?
Well, it depends what the conditions are. If inflation is falling further, but you convinced yourself that it was going to stop somewhere above target, then you would still want to be restrictive.
Okay. Right now, the market has built in rate cuts next year, actually pretty serious ones, about 100 basis points. Do you feel that a need to think about, like Kashkari yesterday seemed to be saying to the market, don't get so sanguine about rate cuts and don't get so sanguine that we're done. Are you comfortable with where and how the market is priced? Is that something you feel a need to address?
It's hard to say that as a general rule. I mean, as you know, Paul Volcker was my great mentor. I worked with him in the financial crisis, and he used to always say, our job is to act. He was speaking of the Fed. Our job is to act, and their job is to react, and let's not get the order mixed up. The financial conditions clearly matter, but it can't be that the market tells the Fed what to do when a bunch of the expectations are, well, what do they think the Fed is going to do? So let's not get ourselves in a circle.
When do you think the situation is going to evolve such that it's another inflection point here? I guess Becky has a question in just a second, but do you have an outlook, Austin, you could share with us for next year?
Inflection point on growth or on inflation or on rates?
Policy.
Which are you?
On policy.
On policy. But look, I'm in the Datadog caucus. Like I told you, we're going to go by the conditions. It's a very Midwestern thing. You know, there is no bad weather. There is only bad clothing, and we'll prepare and deal with it, whatever it is. I feel, as I have been saying for some time, that unusually for a soft landing of this magnitude, there has never been an inflation rate drop to get inflation down as much as we're getting it down without a big recession. That's basically never happened. But because of some of the strangeness of this moment, there is the possibility of the golden path, that I call it, that we got inflation down without a recession. If that happened, in a way that wouldn't be an inflection point. It would just be a continuation of what we've already seen this year, which is unemployment up very modestly while inflation has come down a lot. If that's our goal, and let's shoot to try to manage that. And we just got to check out these lags of policy and conditions.